Good evening, everyone, or afternoon. Thank you for joining us today. You're joining me in a webinar called Starting and Operating a Business from Home. Today's presentation is approximately 1 hour. That's about it. To begin with, I want to clean up a couple of things. We only present for an hour. If there's time left over to answer questions, we will do so. Otherwise, you can send a direct question to me. And I'm listed in the SCORE directory. If you like, again, my name is Sharon Spivey Eldridge, and you can reach me via SCORE at any time. We're going to go ahead and begin. I don't have anyone saying they can't hear me, so I'm going to assume everything is rolling along fine. Again, you're being presented today a webinar called Starting and Operating a Business from Home. So a little bit about SCORE, which I'm sure you probably are familiar with, but SCORE's present, and they typically do. They present free webinars for those that are interested and can use a tool. If you need a mentor, if you don't have one already, and you're just viewing the presentation, please take a moment to go to the SCORE website, which is score.org, and you can find a mentor. You can take a workshop or simply browse our library. It's a very robust library with different types of tools that would benefit you. SCORE has been around since 1964, so you can trust that they have the tools that you'll need to either start your business or develop your business as you go along. Again, please go to score.org and just do a bit of investigating on the website. Today's presentation is going to cover very simply the why, the what, the who, the when, and the where. And then we're just going to give you some tools to use in your venture, in your journey to building your own business. You want to start a business and you want to operate a legitimate business from home. And then we talk about who starts a business, when should you start, we ask that question, and then where. So the where is whether or not you should actually do it in your home or not. So let's first we're going to attack the current market. We all know that the current market, according to the United States Job Market Trends Report, the job market begins in 2023. They created this report based on 2023. And this is after the closing of the pandemic. So after COVID-19. This is a report that they went out to, and they researched everything related to job market. And the reason why this is important, the current job market, is it'll help you make your decision on whether you should start your own business, and as well as what type of business you should start. Because you want to look at what's out there and what's needed. A lot of organizations are changing the dynamic of what they'll do. It's absolutely still currently, according to the report, a job seekers market. For now, it may not last forever, but it is for now. Layoff concerns are very real, especially in the tech market. But that doesn't necessarily mean the layoffs will continue. It just simply means right now we're talking the current market, the current reasons for doing things. It's the tech market, as you've seen through all the different tech companies, they're up and down. But for right now, pay is not keeping up with inflation. That's a big concern. Employers must do more to address burnout, overworked employees, and things of that nature. They want to focus on that right now because that's keeping the market open for ideas to pop up. and people to start their own business. It's a good market for those individuals that are independent and can go out and do it. You'll need some financial backing, which we'll get to as we go along. The job market may cool in 2023. Like we said, it may not, but it also may change. Everything changes almost day to day. Workers are split along generational lines on remote versus in-person versus hybrid. Okay, real quickly, remote obviously is working remote, but not necessarily always for yourself. It may just be for another organization. That's not your business. So that's working remote. In person, a lot of people or still have their employees. There are some spaces and businesses in which you must be in person, i.e. McDonald's. So if you have a McDonald's franchise, your employees kind of have to be in person as much as possible. And the last thing, pardon me, is this split hybrid work. So 2 days at the office, 2 days at home, or 3 days at home, whatever it amounts to. And currently, there's absolutely no end in sight to the great resignation, which we'll get into. That's something that started once people saw the big picture. So what the big picture is a survey that was conducted that thousands of jobless users, those who look for jobs, I'm sure you know what a jobless is, those types of individuals, a significant share think that their job prospects are better now than a year ago. And we're talking now 2024, 23, 24. We just stepped into 24. So right now they think it's better than it was a year before. So I want you to think 2022. Nothing has changed drastically at the turn of the year. Nothing seriously has changed. However, uncertainty and recession fears still loom for many. Now, there's always a panic depending on what the administration does, our government does, for a recession or even a depression. Right now is trending in the good. Right now, today is trending in the good. In this particular survey, the big picture, over half of the job seekers, about 52%, believe that they still have the upper hand, which is good. They still think they can call their own shots for themselves personally, what job they want, how long they want to stay at the job. And that's another consideration when opening is, are you happy in your current job? Across generational lines, baby boomers are most likely to think that the job seekers have the upper hand, about 57%. Gen Xers think almost the same, a little bit different, but almost the same. So it all depends on what generation you fell into and how you see it. I want to again let you know that I don't have an assistant with me today, so I'm going to have to answer the questions that pop into the Q&A at the close if we have time. Again, if we don't have time, I would definitely answer your questions via email. But I don't want to stop to answer questions. I want to keep moving so we get all of the information into you. The Great Resignation, as we mentioned before, the Great Resignation actually started in 2022. While the Great Resignation rolled on into 22, 23, it is slowly losing some steam. According to the data of the Bureau of Labor and Statistics, over 42 million Americans quit their jobs through the first 10 months of the year. So they just quit. You know, people are quitting. Well, where are they going? What are they doing? And that's what we're here to figure out, how you fit into that. How does your expertise or your set can fit into starting a business, whether or not those individuals who quit moved on to other jobs or started their own business. The most common reason for quitting is like the most common is about 39%. They quit because of poor management or a toxic workplace, remember I spoke about your reasons for leaving, or for quitting, or for seeking an opportunity to start your own business. These are some reasons, and things that you need to think about. Do you want to go from one toxic place to another, or do you want to rethink your decision to start your own business? It's not an easy task, in other words. A meaningful percentage also quit due to low pay. So, can I make more money? Am I getting paid a lot? A lot of opportunities at work are toxic. You know, you get burned out. They don't pay you enough. And then a small percentage, not terribly small, but about 12% of them say that it's benefits. So all of these things are, I want to drop in your mind for you to hold on to when you're making the decision about starting your own job. Is it too toxic to stay where you are, or would you be in a worse situation? Again, it's very important that you think through everything that you do. It's wonderful to think of starting a business of your own, but you got to think it through. You've got to be a coachable individual, and you absolutely need to seek a mentor of some sort. Doesn't necessarily mean it has to be a SCORE mentor, but SCORE is free. So you get someone to work with you side by side and help teach, but you have to be coachable. You have to be coachable. So you want to be able to learn and absorb things from your mentor. That's the purpose of a mentor. Pay raises. Currently, inflation or cost of living increases or reasons for those that are in a situation where they feel like they're not making enough money to ask for raises. Now, you got to remember that these businesses went through the pandemic just as well as you did. So they suffer the consequences of not being able to move along with requests for a pay increase. You have more responsibilities, like we touched. All of these are reasons to think about, do I want to stay in my current job? All simple things that everyone thinks about. What are the reasons we ask for raises? Can I meet the demand of my employer and stay at the rate that I'm doing? Think about that, and then you think, is it worth moving on? Remote versus hybrid versus in person. I touch base on that. About 44% of job seekers say that their ideal work setting is in person. And all of us understand why. And we'll understand a little bit more when we get into your reasons for start, the reasons to start, the pros and cons of starting your own business. In person gives you face-to-face, someone to talk to, socialize with. Remote, about 36%. And hybrid is the lowest. Hybrid is, as we discussed, sometimes in the office, sometimes not. And a lot of large organization is going to that. The job market is rough and tough if the employer can't figure out a way to make it work. Should I make them show up in person, and what's the risk? The risk of COVID is very low now. Should I work remotely? If they work remotely, am I sure they're doing their job? If I call them when I need them, are they available? And hybrid gives them an opportunity to say, come to the office twice a week, stay home. And then that way, that helps emotionally too. Because COVID was not just toxic physically, it was also toxic for your emotional stability. So what we're going to discuss is operating the business from home. And the key note here is from home. Now, do you want to operate it from home? You can start it in home and operate in the beginning and then move on. But we're going to focus on from home. What is the clear definition of a home-based business? There's definitions are consistent in across the board, no matter who you're talking to. They're basically consistent in how they define it. Typically, it is defined as any business where the primary office is located in the business owner's residence. And the reason why residence is important is because you don't have to own a home. It could be where you live. The core management of any service or flow of product is conducted through this space, through the residence in which you live. You don't have to own the property, as I said, but you do need to be running the business out of the home. Another definition is a home-based business is any enterprise for which the principal administrative and managerial activities take place within the individual's personal residence. And that's from uslegal.com. This is a one that I like, but they all basically say the same. A home-based business is defined as a business that is conducted out of a residence with no other headquarter location. That's why it's important that you understand that if you work remotely for Apple, it's not your business unless you are contracted, an independent contractor. You're not operating. A remote worker is not necessarily operating a business. Overall, it is found that about 2/3 or 68% of sole proprietorships, partnerships, LLCs, and S corporations are home-based in the United States, according to the United States Small Business Administration. That's important because this introduces the idea of thinking through what form of business you will have. What's the status of your business, whether it would be a proprietorship, a partnership, an LLC, or an S corp. You can actually have an S corp. Again, I want to define these things because these are important. Remote workers are typically engaged in full-time positions within their company, i.e. Apple. You work for Apple, but you work remotely. Conversely, freelancers, independent contractors, and small business owners may undertake individual projects and might not have a continuing commitment once the project has concluded. So you can be a freelancer, independent contractor, or a small business owner and do work for Apple. But if you're a contractor, you are not a remote worker. If the employee, if you're listed, your status is full-time employee with Apple, then you're definitely not a business owner. It is, as a result, a contract duration for remote employees generally spans several years, while freelancers, independent contractors, and small business owners might only secure a contract that concludes in a matter of weeks or months. That's not uncommon. You sign a contract, they say for the year 20, whatever, I'd like you to do the work. And generally that project ends. And these are all trigger words for you. When you want to develop, if you're looking for independent contractor work and it says remote employee, then you need to understand that you're ultimately responsible to that employer. All of the guidelines as employee-employer relationship is applicable to you when you are a freelancer, independent contractor, or small business owner. It's a little bit different. Ultimately, your benefits and all of that are yours, not the employee. I'm sorry, not the employer. Okay, the majority of remote workers find themselves in a role of employee, and that's exactly what I was touching on before. Don't get in that role, because once you're employee, ultimately your obligation is to that employer, whomever it may be. So these are a couple of key points that I think I just want to touch base on, understanding the difference between being an independent contractor, entrepreneur, and a small business. Entrepreneur can be a small business. A single person can be a small business. To think, for example, a painter, an author. They create a business, and it could be self, LLC, whatever it may be. Um, they can have their own business. So if you are a painter or an artist in any form or another, you can have your own business. That doesn't stop you from having your own business and operating as a business. So if you are an artist and you have a skill set that's sellable or marketable, then you want to become a small business. You as an individual, as an artist, you want to become a small business. You want to think about those things going into it. So who starts a business? I want to touch base here, with age, gender, etc. Who wants to own a home-based business? And there are some statistics out there. And these are all things you need to think about. Are you the who, for example? Small business owners come from a diverse range of age groups. There are 17-year-old business owners. There are 77-year-old business owners. So it's a wide range, depending on where you fall in the gap. Gender or sex, all ranges, male, female, doesn't really matter. There are business owners diversified through all of it. Location is something you want to consider. There are some states that you don't want to start a business in, and then there are some states that you would love to. There are some counties. All of those things are important. Look at where you are. Look at where you are. Does it fit? Is the location good for you? Every place is not good for everybody. Some people can start a business in the worst of places and make money. Some cannot. So you want to think about that. Here's a note. Trends can vary by region and by subject, and are subject to economic and technological changes and societal changes as well. And I mentioned that before. Additionally, the impact of events like COVID-19 or the pandemic may have influenced the demographics of small business owners in unforeseen ways. It may have affected them in unforeseen ways, and that's typical. Any massive change, for example, climate change or things of that nature impact that. And the decision. All of these are things I think is extremely important that you think through. For the most current and specific data on small business owners in 2023, consulting governmental reports, as I've done for this particular presentation, go out to seek for yourself, do your research, and you'll see I'll touch base on that. I'm real big on researching and finding out things for yourself. And that's why getting a mentor with SCORE would be a dynamic move on your part. Some of the most successful and largest corporations started on a part-time basis at their home. And I think we're all familiar with these. Amazon, I was surprised that Harley, but that's true. We know Apple did, we know Ford did, and Hershey. All of those, and Mary Kay, for example, I thought we all know that household name. She started her business at home. She was an American businesswoman that started a cosmetics. If you're not familiar, I can't believe anyone would not be familiar with it. She started right in her kitchen. And after her death, her personal fortune was $98 million. And her company had more than 1.5 billion in sales, both domestic and international. So it was an amazing start. We all know the history with Apple. So starting a business at home can turn into a multi-million-dollar organization for you if it's right for you. the Harley Davidson guy was his name was I can't say it, William Harley, sorry. Um, he did his at age 21. So your age isn't going to matter much. You just have to have a product that you know will work. Now, it can be a product or a service. It could be consulting or selling things. Whatever you're good at, whatever your expertise is. All of these individuals, these business owners, started in their home. And it's well known that they started in their home. And they have the blueprint for doing it. Start in your home and you grow. I'm sure they were in their home for a long period of time. It may have taken them a couple of years. So don't look for a quick start to this. These are all very important things. And the different types of businesses that you could start on. A lot of people don't think of this. You could be a freelance writer. You could be a virtual assistant. You could be a tutor online. There are so many things that you could create your business for. You just have to be in the space to do it, and know that you want to do it. You could be a personal trainer, something to that effect, something that you're good at, that you think you have the skills to do. It's very important that you think through these things. Think about who you are and whether you could do it. So you may be a dynamic cook. Everybody loves your lasagna, for example. But is that something you could create a business on? I don't know. So you have to think through all of it before you move into that space. But these are some of the ones that you could go out and do and start a business on. You can diversify at a later date, but think hard about what you do. If you fit into any of these, find out what it is, know you, and figure out whether or not you can start your business at home. Is it worth doing? So when is the right time to start? We don't know. You have to think about it. There are advantages and disadvantages to it. So some of the disadvantages to starting your own business, it can be very lonely. I mentioned that earlier. Are you the type of individual that can not be at the office? You can't handle being by yourself or alone, because you can't have traffic when you're trying to develop a business. We'll get into that as well. You're in charge. And why is this a con? Why is this a disadvantage? Because maybe you're not good as a supervisor. You don't know, but you're the one that's in charge and you're supervising yourself. So you think about what goes on with your supervisor at your job and how he's on you to get things done. You have to be there. There are boundaries that cannot be overstepped. Okay, so think about that. You set boundaries, of course, but you want to grow and develop your business. So you set the boundaries. Your clients may need convincing. If you try to tell somebody, well, I'm a massage therapist, I have my own business, it may take a little convincing. It may say, let me see who you've done before, let me see you in action, or whatever it may do. There's no walk-in traffic. So if your business is on that, then there's an issue. There's a walk-in traffic, like a nail salon. Typically, they would put walk-ins welcome. You don't have that when you're in your home. It's risky if you do. It's not cost-free. It's not free. Okay, it takes money to grow your business. It takes money. It's definitely not free. Expansion is limited. Okay, there's only so many rooms in your home, so you can't expand. Within your home. At that point, you want to go get a storefront if it's like that. The negatives of a home-based business, of course, are some potential downsides to working from home. There are some downsides, but they're concentrated in mainly these areas. Many businesses fail because of lack of money, changes in the economy, all kinds of things. You know, there are downsides, but there are downsides to any business anywhere. So here's some of the advantages. Okay, I wanted to be fair. The list looks a little bit long, but or a little bit longer, but I want to be fair. The pros and the cons could equal out actually. Um, Increase productivity. So if it's just you, there's nothing else to do but work on your business. If you're an artist, work on that. You know, whatever you're doing, more time, more focus. It's a creative outlet. You can focus, as I said, because you don't have the distraction of someone in the office talking or whatever. The commute is almost non-existent. And the reason why I inserted the word almost non-existent is because from time to time you may have to commute to one of your clients' place. That's the only reason. But it's really non-existent for you as an individual. You do not have to go into office. You can multitask. You know, you can do one thing while you're doing another. You can talk on the phone and then take care of any personal things because no one can see you know. So you should be able to multitask. If you're not the type of person that can multitask, then that's not really a pro for you. You have more control over your schedule. You can get up at 9 and you can go to sleep at 12 at night. So it's your call. You have control over that. You don't have to pay rent on the space. You may be renting in a house or an apartment that you're utilizing with their permission to run your business from. So that's the rent you have to pay, but you don't have to pay for commercial space. Not yet, you know. This startup cost is minimal. You know, sometimes it could be as low as $3,000. You know what I'm saying? And the reason I'll explain why it could be depending on what type of business you want to have. It could range in different prices. You are the role model. So there's no one helping you. You are the role model. You're setting the example for yourself. And the very last thing and the key thing is the tax benefits. I am not a tax expert, but again, please go to SCORE. There are people doing presentations on tax benefits and tax in general. It would definitely be worth your while to go and look up some. I am not a tax expert, so I'm gonna stay in my lane in terms of that. I'm not. They change, the benefit change based on each administration. So you want to go ahead and do that. So let's tackle the where. Do your research. What things that are going to matter is the zone. Okay. You may have to pay a business tax. In Florida, it's called a business tax receipt. Now, I don't know what it is in any other state, but you want to focus on whether you have to have a business license and whether or not you have to have, even though you're operating in your home. It's different. You know, it gets frustrating depending on, this is why the where you decide to do your business is important. You don't have to be in the state that you're doing business in. Not anymore. You know, people traffic. For example, when I say people traffic, I'm not speaking about someone coming into your home. I'm talking about the traffic outside. Is it loud? Is it, hard to focus or something like that? You want to think about that. And getting deliveries. Is it going to be mass crazy with getting your deliveries? The issues, think about that if you're doing a product and not a service. So what's your situation with deliveries? You want to definitely investigate that when it comes to location. For example, if you're in an apartment, or do they allow that big boxes if you need it? You want to think about those types of things. Professional surroundings. Are you in an area in which it's not a lot of traffic? When I say traffic, I'm saying people in and out in the area. You don't want to be in a space where your house sits on the corner of where they pick up the children for school. That could get very distracting, and where they drop them off at, because they drop them off at different times. That's what I mean about professional surroundings. And do you have separate office space? That's important. If you have a room in your house that you can dedicate to office space. If you don't, if you have to do it in your kitchen or in the closet somewhere, you got to make sure it's doable. It makes sense to do it. So in this particular line, check with your county clerk to figure out all that. Also, check with the state for professional links. Go to your state website and they'll tell you what is needed. You simply type in there, you want to have do I need a business license to do this? Everybody doesn't need a business license for everything. But obviously we know if you decide you want to be a traveling nurse and you want to do contractually and you can do that, you have to have a license for that. So there are some things that make sense. So you basically have to do your research on that particular thing. If you are a product or service, do you have internet only? Do your packages do you have to ship packages? Now this is in addition to deliveries, you have to focus on whether or not you're shipping packages. And lastly, look at your skill set. Can you repurpose your skill set? And what that means is, can you take what you're doing, polish it up, and make it a service that is selling, something that someone wants. Think about what you do. Another perfect example of that is if you work for IBM. I don't know if IBM still exists, I'm sorry. Well, Apple, for example, I'm aging myself when I say that. But if you work for Apple, for example, and you have been doing a certain thing for Apple as an employee, can you repurpose that skill set into a business, either product or service? Legal. Get your training and development. Go to, don't do things that you're not capable of doing. Get advice on taxes. Go to someone. Sometimes this is where the money may come in. Sometimes you may have to pay for certain specific things, like learning, training. Get all of that. If you see something that's not free, think about how much it would benefit you if you went ahead and paid for that thing. And make sure you have your license and certifications, as I mentioned before. These are all very, very important things to do before you decide. Very last, and not very last, but the most important piece to me, critical that you think about, take self-inventory. And what that means is look at yourself, not your sister or your brother or what your dad did. Look at yourself. Can you separate business from pleasure? Can you focus on business and not just hang around the house playing games, video games, whatever you do, playing on the internet, whatever it may be. Can you separate your business from pleasure? This is very serious self-inventory because a lot of times people fail. Talk to your family. Bounce your idea around on people. Listen, talk to someone that will give you honest answers, not just going to say yes to you. Are you disciplined enough to manage yourself and your time? Are you able to teach yourself to stop, move, and go? Are you able to do those things? Are you able to discipline yourself in terms of time? If you say to yourself, setting a schedule is key. If you say, I'm going to work from 8 to 12, work from 8 to 12 and get your lunch at 12. Because if you were working for someone else, that would be expected of you. So think seriously about the discipline, whether or not you're disciplined. Are you able to focus and ignore the distractions? For example, if you're working out of your home, do you have children that may or may not be home? So can you focus on when they may bring up distractions? Or are you caring for a little child? Are you caring for an elderly person? Can you focus? That this is so important in making your decision to start a business. Will you be able to be accountable to spend your time wisely? In other words, think carefully about what you're doing. Don't spend 3 hours working on something that's not going to work. You've got to decipher that. Can you handle isolation? It's very lonely, because it's just you. You don't have anybody to talk to. Again, you can't stay on the phone talking to your friends because that's not discipline. Okay. So, do you have the support of your family and your friends? Do you have their support? Do you have someone that will be honest with you and say, that's not really your thing? I like your lasagna, but I don't think it's good enough to sell. And are you coachable? You know, and most importantly, do you have a mentor? Please go out and find someone that can talk to you outside of your family. If your family and friends don't support what you're doing, still go find a mentor, because you need somebody. And when you make a big decision like this, and it is a big decision, if you're giving up a W-2 for a 1099 or not a 1099, just winging it. Do you know what motivates you? What keeps you going? What gets you excited about what you're doing? Okay. Are you prepared to work long, long hours? Again, I say, starting a business is your business. So you may have to work from 6 a.m. to 1 a.m. You have to be prepared to put in time. No, you don't have an assistant. Remember, you're starting off a business. You're starting a business. You are every position. You are it. How do you get started? You want to think about these factors here. What type of business do you want to have? And here's a brief summary, and I would encourage everyone to dive a little bit deeper before you make your decision. The first thing you want to do is make this decision. Which one do I want to have? Do I want an LLC, which is a limited liability company? Do you want that and what it entails? It's a business entity created under whatever state you're in, law that combines characteristics both of a corporation and a partnership. So this is a combination of both. You make that decision. It's also, each one of them have a different tax implication as well. Sole proprietorship. You still want to start a business with a name, a sole proprietorship, because you want to separate personal from business. So obviously, partnership is an easy to form, and it gives you complete control over your business. It's one person over your business. Obviously, an LLC can be one person or more, okay? A partnership generally is more than one person, but it's the simplest structure for two or more people to do a business. For example, it could be you and your friend. If you say we want to do consulting and we bounce it off, they're consulting from their home, you're consulting from your home, and it's a 50-50 partnership. Obviously, expenses are 50-50. So you kind of want to go through that. And those can actually be more than one. You can have an LLP or an LP. And then here's the other one, the S corporation. Think twice before you do this. An S corp combines a W-2 with the money you make in the business. Now, it's a special type of corporation. It is a corporation, but it costs more to form than the average. You pay corporate taxes versus the other ones, okay? So you want to be sure about which one of these you decide to do. If you're an artist and you just want to have you, then that's fine, you know. But these gives you other opportunities. No matter which one you choose, I would recommend coming up with a separate name. If it's a sole proprietorship, you can say Me Incorporated or Me LLC. You could do that, you know. You replace your name with that. Some people do, and that's fine. And then that separates you from your personal self. Okay, you pay yourself a check, etc. You do all of that. So here are 3 critical things that you must do. Choose a name for your business. Okay, once you decide which one you're going with, choose a name for your business, because some of them require that if you do a corporation, it requires that you have the word incorporate in the name. So what I would do, I would come up with 4 or 5 different names, because once you go to your state or corporate department and search for the name for Florida, it's sunbiz.gov. So if you go there, I would type in a few names, because oddly enough, some people think of the same things you do. So you want to make sure before you get there, you can go and make your decision. And not be disappointed. Oh, someone else has McDonald's. I just thought of that. That's not going to work. That's not going to work for you. And every state has a state corporation site that you can search for. All of them are not simple. And I've done work in probably 40 different states. They're not all simple, but you get the same result. And it's generally free to search. Okay. The next step, once you get the name of the organization and you've registered that name in your state, you need to get an EIN number. And the reason why the EIN is second, because they'll give you an EIN. Now, EIN is free and you can do it right online. It's an easy step, as long as you have a name, because they'll check with the state. They have their ways to see if that name exists. They're not going to give you an EIN number for a non-existing business, okay? So even if you're a sole proprietor, I recommend getting the EIN number. Again, that separates you as a person from your business and the risk that it may take. In the scheme of things, you want to make sure, if nothing else, you get errors and omission insurance. That's not in here. It's not a requirement, but it's just a good thing to do. And so the next step, because step 1 and 2 are required, step 3, you get a business bank account. Those 3 steps make you a legitimate legal business. Those are the steps. If you go to the bank and want a business bank account, they're going to ask you for the previous 2 things. So you're going to need put a pin in those other 2 before you even try to put a pin. You won't be allowed to do it on the second one. If the bank allows you to do it, I would think twice about it, because they're going to need your Social Security number, and therein lies your connection with your business. So you want to be careful there. Your marketing. Branding is, by definition, is a marketing practice in which a company creates a name, a symbol, or design, in other words, a logo, that is easily identifiable, recognizable. The golden arches, we all know as McDonald's. The midnight apple, we all know as Apple. So that's part of it. So branding is extremely important in the marketing tool. You want to create a logo, you want to have a website, you want to do a letterhead, a business card, any printed marketing material, and you have a price list. A whole lot of people skip this step, say, I'll wing it. No, you develop your price list right away, because you don't want to undersell yourself and you don't want to oversell yourself. You want to be competitive, in other words. So make sure all of these things are important in branding and marketing. Very important to get it going. Next, you need to develop here's one thing you may have to go and hire someone to do if you're not good at this. You want to do a business plan. And the reason why you want to do a business plan is because you want to be able to um, supplement your expenditures with maybe a bank loan or something to that. Maybe you need products you need to buy up front. You need to have a quality, well-defined executive summary. That's going to be key. And all of it in your business plan is things that you've researched. You can't put fluff in there because banks know how to read fluff. So you want to do a market analysis. That's not difficult to do. I'm saying you may have to hire someone to do a business plan. If you're counting on growing, then I would recommend that you do this. You can get a template off of SCORE, or you can get a mentor. SCORE mentors cannot do it for you, but they can guide you. We're not, I as a certified mentor, I can't do the work for you, but I can guide you through the steps. You know what I mean? But you can absolutely go out and you can't hire a SCORE person, but you can hire a professional to do a business plan for you. And it's like most daunting projects, drafting a business plan is done step by step. And honestly, with professional review or guidance, it is really important. Banks aren't going away from that. And then there are some people that fund other ways. So branding is also relationships, your social media connections. So I guess it's not called, Facebook and any of the other ones that are out there. I'm not a real social media kind of person, but I do know it's a plus for your business. Connect with community. Connect with your community as well. Stop by the Chamber of Commerce. Grab a few connected. They have business cards that they put out there, and maybe there's someone that's similar to your business that you can form a partnership with. You don't have to do it all by yourself. And this partnership doesn't necessarily have to be a financial partnership. In other words, you go into invest in each other's business. It's a different type of partnership. Digital marketing. That's like emails, sending out mass emails and things like that, introducing your business. All of these factors are important before you do this, before you even think about launching your business. All of these things are important. So you create a checklist, and checklists are so important. As a business development consultant, I create checklists for things that I do with my clients. But checklists are extremely important. You can check off things as you go. First, you set the date. So you know everything you have to do before that date. You send out grand opening. That's the marketing thing. There are different marketing, email marketing businesses that you can use that some cost money, some don't. Check all media is operational before you launch. In other words, make sure your Facebook, it's not Twitter anymore, whatever one you're using, make sure they're all functioning. If emails aren't getting out to people, then you got a problem. Do your due diligence. Check and make sure everything is operational before you launch your business. And there are different, as you go and decide you want to grow, there are different relationships that you have to think about as you grow, business to business. So one consultant to another consultant. That's wonderful. Get those relationships started. All of the relationships are word of mouth is so important. And the business development task, entails a lot of processes, to develop and implement growth opportunities within your organization. So it's business to business, business to customer, customer to customer, and customer to business. I would encourage you to go in and check what each of these is in a little bit more detail, but briefly, obviously, business to business is who business to business. Business to customer. You may be a customer of another business, but you want to build that relationship strong so that they can refer people to you and give you opportunities. Customer to customer. Some other business may be your customer as well, you know, and obviously customer to business. So you have a great opportunity to build relationship in all different forms. In preparing to grow, you need all of these relationships. Again, I would encourage you to do a little research on these and dive a little bit deeper. The different types of things and relationships that you can build are going to be critical. I'm going to run a little bit over, and I apologize for that because I had to start a little bit late. Typically, I'm within my hour. So government business, if they do business with home-based businesses, you can build contracts with the government. You can also bid. You can also do bids. You can bid on different projects out there. You have to do your research and find out who's doing it. A lot of requests for proposals are out there. There are websites that you can search for these particular things. So developing your growth is going to be important. But these are all different ways of doing it. So don't think that you can research the government, figure out what type of relationships they have and what their requirements are. You know, you have to be in a position to deal with the government on contracts, but they definitely do it with small businesses. And sometimes they have set asides for small businesses. So you want to make sure that you're in Duns and Bradstreet. Just go out there, look at what's required there, and then SAMS.gov. In order to do business with the government, these are required. Okay, so you want to go out there and get your Duns on. It's not difficult. It's easy to go out and do. Again, you can hire someone to do all of this stuff for you. If you're not able to do it, if you don't feel comfortable that you would do it right, you should have things done properly to make it work. These are all different tools that you can use. If you have Gmail, you know that you can use Google to store your things. These are it's very important to have your data taken care of. You know, you don't want your computer to crash and you not be able to get it back. So they have G Suite, there's Android situations. Microsoft has one, OneDrive. So you want to make sure you explore all of these things to make sure the information that all your blood, sweat, and tears you put into that it's not lost. And it happens. You know, it happens. But there are so many solutions for that. Then look at what you can use in terms of a website. There are so many out there, and some of them are easier than others, but they're catching up to each other. Wix, GoDaddy, I think they are catching up to each other. There's Squarespace, Google has one. There's WordPress has one. But do your research and find out which one is best for you. I can't make a recommendation on any of them. For using email marketing, there's Sendinblue, Constant Contact, iContact, and MailChimp. Those are some of the ones that I have put on there, but there are so many others. MailChimp in the beginning is free, but I think, you know, all of them pretty soon begin to, you know, cost money. Here are some resources for you. Please take a moment, go to SCORE. You can go to the SBA. And if you're in Florida, go to My Florida Business. Great place to investigate what is required of you. And then Florida Department of Revenue, if you're concerned about taxes. Obviously, sunbiz.org is a place to name your business at and find out more information. And then the IRS for tax purposes and making sure you're doing everything correctly. Okay, so in summary, A home-based business can be rewarding and lucrative. It absolutely can. The average person in the first few months make upward of $5,000 depending on what they've gotten themselves into. It needs to operate as a real business to reap the benefits. You can't sidestep it. You got to separate personal from business. You can get caught up with taxes on that as well. There are pros and cons, and we went through those. You determine what your pro is or what your con is. You determine it. Most importantly, be coachable. Get training. Don't depend on yourself for all. There are other people who are experts in different things. Get your training. Go out there. Go to conferences. Get tied in with other people so that you can learn from others' mistakes, if for no other reason. And by all means, get a business mentor. But last and most importantly, do your research. Go through what you have to, it takes time. Do your research, find out what is required of you before you make your decision. Some businesses some people think are easy, but they require licenses, like starting a daycare center or watching children in the home. There are requirements for that. So if you think things are easy, do your research, find out what the requirements are before you dive into it. Even if you're an artist, find out what it takes to get your art out there. Find out who you can connect to. Things like that is going to be extremely, extremely important. I cannot stress these enough. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and conclude this presentation. I want to thank each and every one of you for being patient with me in the beginning and getting everything together. And I hope that you have enjoyed today's presentation. Please email me if you have any questions, any further questions or concerns, and go to score.gov, look at other presentations, especially as it relates to taxes and accounting, etc. Again, thank you and have a wonderful rest of your day.